Good morning, brave adventurers, and welcome back to the channel. I am AmalgamAsh, and today I wanted to share with you what Luca Pasquarelli has shared with the entirety of the world through the Ye Olde Inn or The Olde Inn Facebook group. Verbatim, his post reads, "Hello everyone, it's been a few months since I announced the discovery of the drafts for the North American expansions. That discovery was not something that I covered on this channel, but it was there, draft notes, scans, handwriting, all of that. A lot of you wanted to see this stuff, like for real. So let's start to see something from these drafts, shall we? Avalon Hill just teased us with a new adventure design kit sheet, but how do you design a HeroQuest expansion?" Quick interruption. That didn't turn out to be an adventure design kit sheet as much as it was a con giveaway. Somebody identified the sheet as the same kind of sheet that was handed out to inspiring Zargons and adventurers at the Italian convention where the Frozen Horror was first leaked and played by a group of people, including none other than Lacuna Coil's lead singer. Back to the post. Follow the link and find out. These are the notes and the material given to the developers of the North American expansions. You will find a letter giving some basics about HeroQuest and how to design the packs, a copy of the reference material the designers received to familiarize with the existing packs, and 4 letters, one for each of the Heroes packs. We know 3 of the designers, Scott Herring, Tom Wham, and most likely Richard Borg, but we don't know the name of the designer for the Elf pack. Maybe we'll find out someday. So this contains a link to tinyurl.com/HQ design notes, and you can of course go there if you'd like to read the design notes for yourself. They are basically transcriptions of all of the notes that were acquired by Luca, and we're going to take a look at them right here on the channel right now. So the Google Drive that this link connects to gives us 6 files: BQP, DQP, EQP, and WQP notes to the designer. These stand for Barbarian Quest Pack, Dwarf Quest Pack, Elf Quest Pack, and Wizard Quest Pack, respectively. There are 2 more files, Letter to Developers and Material for Developers. So, let's get started by jumping into the one that we know and love the most, the BQP. This is a PDF. We're just going to go ahead and open it up. Barbarian Notes. You have 6 identical warriors on your British runner. The weapons will be able to be put in and removed easily. This is referring to the mercenaries, the 6 mercenaries that are included with the Frozen Horror. That is why there are 12 weapons for only 6 figures. And just in case it wasn't very clear, we are talking about the classic versions of HeroQuest, not something that has to do with Avalon Hill today, although it is strongly believed, by myself at least, that Avalon Hill does have complete awareness of these notes and could very well be building off of them in order to make the Dwarf and Wizard Quest packs a reality for us. Back to the Barbarian notes. You can use them as hirelings or as civilized foes for the Barbarian. It looks like they did go with the idea of using them as hirelings. Or they could just be used as guards, lots of options. I like the idea of a separate card for each, scout, crossbowman, etc., so that you don't have to list the stats for each type in every quest. However, this presents a problem. If there is only one scout card, what if 3 people hire scouts? Who gets the card? The reason there are lots of cards for each player is that way you keep a card for each guy you hire. I hate to think that you would eat 24 of your cards doing this, so I would like to propose that you use the back cover of the quest book or a rectangle on the cardboard die-cut sheet to list the stats and hiring costs of each of these guys based on the weapon type he carries. This chart would then be available for all players to look at. Per our telephone discussion, if you want to set the Barbarian in a cold climate, keep your monsters on the fantastic level, and I'm so glad they went with this suggestion. So if you want a polar bear, give him 4 arms and 2 legs or something else that's neat. Thankfully, they didn't give him 4 arms. That would have been a bit weird for me. Spider bears kind of creep me out, but they did give the polar war bear the ability to stand on his 2 legs and deliver 2 attacks per turn, and gave him lots of armor. They made him awesome. You could also design ice caverns and tunnels on your cardboard sheet. I am sending you a cardboard tile from the Ogre Horde pack that fits over a corner room. It is an outside tile that is used as an entry from the outdoors to stone doorways in a mountain. There is a lava pit on the other side. Wouldn't it be neat if characters and monsters could try to shove an opponent back one space into a lava pit? Heh. You might want to design an icy terrain tile like this. A barbarian with a helmet, plate mail, axe, and crossbow is awesome and very hard to kill. A barbarian's weakness is his low number of mind points. The only relief so far is the Talisman of Lore that he might possess from the basic game. Barbarians are very vulnerable to mind magic. You could play with this to make some adventures very exciting and deadly. You could also provide some kind of potion or item that is temporary and aids in this type of situation. Since you have human figures now, you could design a quest where the board becomes a small town, complete with an inn, shops, healer, etc. Once cleaned out, the town could serve as a base for the heroes between adventures. It breaks my heart that they didn't go with this suggestion at all. The closest thing we have to a town between quests is a few board games away over in Warhammer Questland. They don't have an inn, a shop, a healer sort of base of operations for HeroQuest. We just have the visit to the armory between rounds. But this was a fantastic idea, and I honestly, just the fact that it was suggested makes my day, because we as the homebrewers can make this happen. And it's not too late for Avalon Hill to make some sort of canon out of this. So that was the Barbarian notes and handwriting suggestion. How about a copyable hireling card on the back of the booklet? Players photocopy, then write in the stats of whichever merc they hire, then erase when a merc goes away. 4 plus 6 equals 10 cards total. Kind of glad they didn't go with that route, but I mean, it's whatever. This is Barbarian notes. Let's take a look at the Elf Quest Pack notes, because we know that that did come into existence. Elf notes. You have 4 big ogres on your British runner. I have included the first few pages from the Ogre Horde pack. Do not use the silly hit points tally system. I loved the hit points tally system, the variable hit points. It was awesome. Remember that most British monsters usually have only 1 hit point. Our monsters are tougher. These ogres are big and should be specially dangerous. The Dwarf pack designer has the other 3 ogres, one of each 3 different heads. Yours are all the same, so you will need 1 ogre card in your 30-card deck. Your ogres have to be somewhat similar to the Dwarf pack designer's ogres. Interesting. This is actually the first time I'm reading this. We're looking through it together if you've never read it before. The Dwarf pack designer has the other 3 ogres, 1 each of 3 different heads. It looks like they intended for the Elf Quest pack to have 1 kind of ogre, and it does. Because I have the classic Elf Quest pack, and I know that it has 4 ogres, and they're all the same. But the Dwarf Quest pack would have had the other kinds of ogres that were included with Against the Ogre Horde. Okay. So, I may have to do some altering after I see what each of you have done. Tom Wham is doing the Dwarf pack. Tom does not know that you are the designer of the Elf pack. If you think you can trust him to keep quiet, you could call him and coordinate your ogre stats so that your ogres are not apples to his oranges. If you don't know him, he's a friend of Jim Ward's and he works at the Lake Geneva Public Library. The reason I gave him the 3 different ogres and you the 4, the same ogres, is that dwarves have no magical ability. So I thought that 3 different ogres would add some uniqueness to his pack. Your card deck should have lots of new Elf Quest spells, whereas his deck may have no spells at all. Very interesting. So that, as we know, did not end up coming into existence. We have a little bit of the concept behind it, though. We know that his deck may have no spells at all. Doesn't mean that it wouldn't necessarily have no spells. It just may have no spells. What would a dwarf spell deck look like? If the dwarf couldn't use spells, then we would just say abilities, right? What would a dwarf ability deck look like? Would the dwarf be able to obtain those, and then after completing that quest, would you just be able to use them forever? Remember that hero spells are so far organized in sets of 3. Feel free to create new sets of 3, or a set of 6 elf spells, or new earth, fire, water, and air spells that only an elf can use. When designing your new elf spells and their place in your 10 quests, try to tailor a few spells such that they are very important to the success of the adventure. For example, you come to a yawning chasm, and you find some way to cross the chasm, or you have to fight 10 monsters. A bridge spell or a rope spell will do nicely. Be careful though, you cannot make a spell absolutely necessary to complete a quest, because if the character doesn't carry the spell, or has already cast it, then the quest is uncompletable. So if you design something like this, and the heroes don't have the spell, put in the quest notes that they find the key spell on a scroll held by the 10th monster, or have another way to solve the quest. That's very good, frustration-free, ensuring that the heroes can complete the quest. Call me if you have any problems or questions. Quests 1 through 3, you should probably let the solitary elf find a helmet in Q1, some chainmail in Q2, and a better weapon in Q3, along with whatever you decide. The idea is to have an outfitted hero by the end of Q3 who can fit in with the other heroes in Q4 through 10. So we are looking at the presumption that this is a brand new elf for sure, just like the Barbarian. It's supposed to be a brand new Barbarian when they start the Frozen Horror. So onward, let's now look at the Letter to Developers PDF. And this one is 7 pages long. So I'll just skim this one, and you can take a look at this in its entirety. when you decide to visit this. So much to do and so little time from Mike Gray. By now you're all familiar with the rules and components of our HeroQuest world. I hope that you've studied the new things in Keller's Keep and Witchlord. Your task is to create a new quest pack before the end of November. There will be 4, so the names of each pack should be something like The Lost Wizard, The Dwarves of Doom, Barbarian Blades, Elven Magic. Each quest pack will contain at least one female figure of each character type, so that female players don't have to play a male character. Genius! So, we were supposed to get a female wizard and a female dwarf. Your quest pack would contain the following items: 2 runners of plastic figures, a quest book, a 10 by 18 die-cut folded cardboard sheet, a deck of 30 cards, and a cross-sell flyer. So the runners are sprues. Alright, I get that now. There will be 2 new runners in each quest pack. On the first runner, there will be 1 female character figure A, 1 figure B, 2 figure Cs, 2 figure Ds, and 3 figure Es. You get to specify what the B, C, D, and E are. So that's awesome because we did get that for our Frozen Horror. Our figure B would have been the Frozen Horror himself. Our figure C's and D's would have been the Yetis and the Polar Warbears, and the figure E's would have been the Gremlins. So this checks out fantastically. For the Elf Quest pack, we got 3 Giant Wolves, 2 Elven Archers, and 2 Elven Warriors. Sinestra the Archmage, and we actually got 4 Ogres in addition to all of that, so that's pretty interesting. The other runner will be one of the 4 runners to be contained in this next British quest packs. Oh, okay. That's right, because the Frozen Horror had a runner of Mercs. So that was off of 1 runner. All of those unique figurines are from 1 runner or sprue, and the other runner has figurines from one of the British quest packs. So it does track to me that the Dwarf pack would have had ogres on it, which means the Wizard quest pack may very well have had either mercs or wizards. It would have had the exact same 4 wizards from the Wizard quest pack. And I'm guessing wizards because the wizards weren't available in America in anything else than the mercs were with the, well, at least with the Barbarian quest pack. Anyways, moving on. If you want 8-legged spiders, then you may not have room. Oh, wait. I'm jumping ahead. I'll tell you what will be on this runner. You will write these figures into your 10 quests. Don't design fat, bulky, or huge figures. These figures have to be about the size of the figures in the basic game. If you want 8-legged spiders, then you may not have room in your runner for anything more than the female figure and 3 complete spiders. You don't have to submit a drawing of the figure, but a description would help. You cannot use any of the trademarked or copyrighted figures in any of the major role-playing systems. You can use generic or mythological figures, or you can make up things on your own. I may give each of you different direction based on what character you are doing. Then choosing your 4 monsters is the first milestone that you'll have. We need to get started on the design of the plastic parts. We have to hire an artist to draw the figures, and then hire a sculptor to make patterns, and then a large mold has to be created. This takes lots more time than anything else. Interesting. The cross-sell flyer, you do not have to design this. That's up to marketing. The die-cut sheet is cardboard tokens. It'll contain whatever you need to make your adventures as enjoyable as possible. It will be 2-sided, so you can use each side for a different situation. And if you like something like Keller's Keep or Witchlord, you can go ahead and copy it into your adventure. Don't forget, you may need to include more hit point skulls, as there are only 11 in the base game. You cannot assume that all players will have either of our first 2 quest packs. Yeah, so everything has to be self-contained. You will have 30 cards to design. One side of each card will be in 4 colors, and the other will be in dark brown. You can do new traps, new treasures, new artifacts, monsters, spells, scrolls, or whatever you need. Your new monsters will have to have their own color monster card. Some of your cards may be dictated by the British runner you may have to use. For example, if I tell you that you'll have 4 ogres in your quest pack, then you'll have to have at least 1 ogre monster card in your deck. You do not need a card for the female character, as she is a player and not a monster. It is apparent that the wizard pack will be full of new spells, good and chaos, whereas the Barbarian's deck may not have no spells at all. Then again, one of the Barbarian's foes could be an Arctic spellcaster. Interesting. Remember, the idea here is to get anyone who normally plays the Dwarf, for example, to have the neat stuff in the Dwarf pack. In addition, anyone who plays Zargon a lot will have to have all 4 packs to have a complete array of fun things to create his or her own quests. When they say have to have, they're playing on our desires as the players of the game. I gotta have that! Not a prerequisite to play anything. Not, man, you have to have one of those to do this. So pay attention to the tone. You may even restrict some of your cards to only be used by your type of character, even after they are mixed in with the basic game cards. Be careful not to create items that are so powerful that they make the character invincible. Awesome. 28 pages on the quest book. You must also explain how quests 9 and 10 should be handled. Regarding the 10 quests themselves, I would like you to use the following format. Quests 1, 2, and 3, I want something different here. These quests should be one-on-one adventures involving one player and one Zargon. The idea is to serve 3 functions. First, 2 kids or a parent and child can play together without one person running 4 characters. Second, these 3 adventures can be used to introduce a new player to the game. Third, if a character is killed during an adventure, a new character can be trained and can win some equipment by playing through these 3 adventures. The first adventure should be for a character who has beginning stats, as shown on the heavy character cards in the basic set. The second adventure should assume that the character found, won, or bought some equipment, and the third adventure should be a true test of skill for that character type. The first 3 quests should not be tied into the next 7, because the next 7 are for a whole party of 4 different characters. Quests 4 to 8 should be standard quests. Don't forget the awesome power of players with crossbows. If you deal with mind points, beware that the Barbarian is very vulnerable, unless he has the Talisman of Lore. These adventures can be standalone or run together as a continuing story. They can also be tied into quests 8 through 10, but not necessarily. Quests 9 and 10. I want something different here. These quests should be balanced for all 4 character types, decked out as above. The difference is that these quests should be interrelated. They should be linked together so that the 4 characters have to go back and forth from one to another to complete the double-sided quest. I am looking for a Zork-like puzzle here. The HeroQuest designer, one of them, just referenced Zork directly. For example, if you fight your way through 3 rooms in Quest 9 and reach a black door that is dripping with poison and is locked, you can go no further, so you enter Quest 10 and soon find a black key, which you take back to Quest 9 to use to open the black door. Make this stuff very simple. No brain teasers or mathematical codes. I see this as a small step up in complexity. Pick things up, find a magic word, find a special scroll, use them intelligently elsewhere. Since you only have 3 half pages for your notes, I don't think you have room enough to go overboard here. So they gave you plenty of inspiration, plenty of guidelines, plenty of help. There is a minor glitch in the rules where you can search an empty room for treasure from anywhere in the room. This means that if you put a treasure chest in the corner and surround it with pits, that a player can get the treasure without having to get adjacent to the chest, thus negating the effect of the pits. One way around this is to put a monster next to the chest. Now the characters have to kill the monster before they can search for treasure. To kill the monster, they would have to get adjacent to it, right? Wrong if anyone has a crossbow. You might want to consider a rules amendment that states you have to be adjacent to a chest to search it for traps or treasure. I might add this into all of your text. Here are some rules, questions, and answers that someone asked. How many treasures can be found in a room? Up to 4, 1 per hero. Can monsters move through other monsters? Yes. Furniture is an obstacle that blocks movement. Very interesting. That's not in rules as written in the base game. And I played it that way forever, but it was revealed to me that that's not in the rules. But that is very, very interesting. I'll continue to play with furniture being obstacles that block movement, but I have been having my heroes stand on tables in the base game. Can furniture be moved? Only if written into the quest notes. And I wouldn't do that unless you established a precedent and explained it. Do you have to be adjacent to give an item to another hero? Yes. When searching for traps in a corridor, the only traps found are those that can be seen. Can a hero jump a space before a trap is found? Yes. Does a hero have to be in a corridor to search for traps in that corridor? Yes. Alchemist shop. We put an alchemist shop in our quest books. Do not assume the players know that they can buy these potions because they may never see, buy, or play these adventures. You may keep the same shop or vary the potions if you wish. Nice. You may also decide that you do not want players to be able to buy potions in between your adventures. In the British Horde pack, each character is given 5 healing potions at the outset and cannot buy any more at all. New rules will eat up space. If you want to use something from our first 2 quest packs, then you can lift the rules from those items. Notice in the basic game, only elves and wizards can cast spells, but in the quest packs, there are spell scrolls that can be used by the other characters. It took a good deal of space to explain how they work. In one case, you drew a scroll at random. In another case, specific scrolls were assigned in the quest notes. I'm giving you a lot of leeway here, but remember you can only have 6 or 7 pages to explain everything. And then there is basically afterthoughts and a recap of the assignment. That's the letter to the developers. So the next thing I want to look at, we have a lot more to go through here, but the last big part is the material for developers. And this looks like 11 pages. They are kind of providing some examples. Quest 2, the cold halls. Examples of how you might draw a quest. Some scans of some British quest packs. Do not use this system. No, but I loved this system. That's too bad. I guess we won't be able to see this system come to fruition in the new packs. Hopefully I'll still get to see it if they decide to bring over against the Ogre Horde, and then just more examples of actual quest packs that were used to help the designers. So now let's look at the Dwarf quest pack notes, because this is the one that would most logically follow a re-release of the Elf quest pack, right? I think. You have been given the Ogre Runner that has 3 different ogres on it. As you will see, the black and white copies I sent you, each ogre type has its own stats. You can do whatever you want with your ogres, make them tough because they are the biggest figures so far. There is another Ogre Runner that has 4 identical ogres on it. That runner has been given to the Elf designer to put into the Elf pack. Some harmonizing may have to be done by me after I see what each of you have done with your ogres. So they definitely wanted ogres in the Dwarf quest pack. You spoke to me on the phone about creating dwarven mine shafts that run off the board. If you think you can create enough of these corridors from the 10x18 sheet, good luck. Wow. The only thing I am concerned about is that I don't want you to stray too far from the format we've already established for quests. That is a map on top and the text underneath. If you have your mine shafts comprise the whole map, then we're okay. But if the mine shafts are attached to the sides of our usual dungeon map, then there won't be enough room on the page to print the dungeon in extending shafts without reducing everything. So what you could do is have Quest 4 be a search for the mine entrance, and Quest 5 be an In the Mine adventure that takes place on your new cardboard pieces. The mine will have to be illustrated as you want it to be set up. This illustration will take the place of the usual dungeon map. Working within limitations, but giving ideas on how to work within limitations to break older conventions or established conventions. Remember that dwarves have the special thief's ability to disarm traps. You may want to introduce new tougher traps that non-dwarves have a lesser chance of disarming, a 17% chance. So that's one side of a 6-sided die. That's why they're using that number. And that dwarves have a normal or 50% chance of disarming. Be sure to include some special dwarven treasures and artifacts that every dwarf player will just have to own. And those are the Dwarf quest pack notes. There may be more materials. I know that Luca is teasing a surprise, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. Before we go, let's take a look at the Wizard quest pack notes. This, if it's going to be re-released or released to begin with, is probably pretty far in the future. But really exciting to be looking at. So here we go. Wizard notes. You have 4 new wizards already defined on the British runner. Also included in the packet are the cards in the British Wizards of Morcar quest pack. Some of the spells were borrowed from what I did in the Chaos spell deck in our basic game. You do not have to break the spells down into 4 sets of 6. You could make them all new Chaos spells, but I kind of like the idea that only a certain type of character can cast these spells. Alright, so they were intending on using the 4 Wizards of Morcar for the Wizard quest pack. I've seen comments kind of about this, but the comments that I've seen are always lean closer to, well, if you think about it, Wizards of Morcar is the Wizard quest pack. Well, no. Wizards of Morcar is not the Wizard quest pack, but they were going to use similar themes to create a Wizard quest pack, and in fact, it looks like they were just going to import the Morcarian wizards. That's awesome to know. Spell notes, the Call Skeleton and Summon Mummy spells are weak breakdowns of what we already did in the Summon Undead spell. 2 skeletons are no match for experienced heroes. The Fear spell is different from our Fear spell, so it has to be changed. Talking about the UK or European HeroQuest versus the US, remember, you don't have to use any of these spells. Note that the Cloak of Shadows, Magical Trap, and Walls of Flame, Ice, and Stone spells required cardboard components. You can use cardboard components in your spells too. Just remember to include them on your die-cut cardboard sheet. Note that you have 4 plastic stands included on the Wizard's Runner. These are used to hold the Walls of Flame, Ice, and Stone. The British Rust spell permits the destruction of any equipment card. We don't use equipment cards. Also, we don't want this to destroy key artifacts that are necessary to complete a quest. See the text on our Rust spell. Quests 1 through 3 put a Wizard's Cloak artifact in Q2 and a Wizard's Staff in Q3. Try to make casting of a certain spell a key activity to solving an adventure. This quest pack should really run a wizard through his paces. There should be some new situations created where carrying a certain spell will cause great relief or a great savings of time. Example, perhaps some treasure on the ceiling is inaccessible if the Levitate spell is not available. Fantastic. Genius. The 4 wizards are not monsters, and they do not have to have fixed monster cards like goblins do. Key characters have special stats that are listed in the quest notes. If you have 4 monsters, you will need 4 cards in the deck for their stats. Then if you give each wizard 6 spells, that's 24 more cards. That leaves 2. You may want to put more stuff in, so you may want to give each wizard only 3 or 4 dedicated spells. And in the quest notes, tell Zargon to give the character certain general chaos spells. Also, call me if you have problems or questions. So, that's a lot of food for thought. That's a lot of fat to chew on. And I don't have a lot to say about it. I have a lot to think about in designing my own HeroQuest. I'm working on a couple of different campaigns for HeroQuest at the moment. One of which is a general anybody should be able to do it type thing with roleplay rules. And the other one is making use of all of the Warhammer Fantasy figurines from the 4th and 5th editions, the armies that I've collected incidentally over time and from different Warhammer stuff. So all of it should have the same design, the same aesthetic, but I'm working on a quest pack that really unites all of the forces of chaos under Zargon and gives the heroes a run for their money. So these give me a lot to think about in terms of exactly how I could work within those same limitations if I were designing a quest pack, if those responsibilities were given to me by Mike Gray back in the day. So that'll be a fun exercise to pretend to be in those shoes and kind of work within those as strict requirements for myself. But anyways, I just wanted to share that. I want to thank Luca for all of his hard work and for sharing the stuff with the Old In community. It's fantastic. Those are the attributions to give. This was brought to my attention by a certain fan, Mr. Colin, who does a great job of very quickly bringing me HQ-related news leaks and the like. So I want to thank him as well, because it was just moments after I saw that particular message that I was seeing it making its rounds in the Discord. So anyways, that's it. I'll leave off here. What did you think about the quest pack notes? Do you think Avalon Hill will utilize these to create brand new material for us? We'll find out maybe very soon. We may actually find out during the Avalon Hill panel at Gen Con this month on the 4th through the 7th. So really looking forward to seeing what kind of announcements they might have, especially if they are related to this stuff. The HeroQuest app got some updates, one of which is to give the players the option to break free of the Yeti Hug, and the option to break free of it is in the draft notes for the Barbarian quest pack. So despite all of the flack I give folks who think that the quest pack for the Barbarian is broken and not just drawing upon their innate ability to be Zargons and do what they need to do to make the quests work for their players and facilitate a fun game, I do love that Avalon Hill are utilizing the quest notes of the original classic version of the game to give this optional rule to Zargons, because let's face it, it's been demonstrated that a lot of Zargons need help with this sort of imagination. They need help with what can I do, the ideation to execution. That's fine. That's fine. I am a Zargon and I need this too. So it's quite lovely to see them using, though, the official older material, official if unpublished older material to kind of help guide their process and appease the fans. Consider myself quite a purist. I don't know if I'm 100% a purist. You've heard me, I still call them Chaos Warriors and Famir, when clearly there are abominations on my 2021 board. But I love that the old draft notes are being used, because if there was going to be alternate rules, they would have been from those draft notes for the classic version. And it stands to reason that those would be the best solutions for these problems, classic and modern. Anyway, that's all the time I have. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, bye for now, guys.